All right, let's dive into one of the wildest, most audacious corporate battles in modern history. We're talking about the time Porsche tried to buy Volkswagen, and in a crazy twist of fate, ended up getting bought by them instead. It's like a high-finance chess game where the pawn somehow managed to capture the king. Let's break down exactly how this all went down.
And you've got to ask, how did this even seem possible? How does a boutique sports car company almost go broke trying to swallow a company that is literally 25 times its size? This is so much more than just a business story. It's a saga of massive ambition, super secret financial moves, and a spectacular collapse that absolutely rocked the financial world.
And to really get your head around the sheer scale of this plan, just look at this. You've got Porsche on one side, this legendary but small maker of luxury cars, with about, 14,000 employees? And on the other side, the sprawling Volkswagen Group, a global giant with 370,000 employees. I mean, it was David versus Goliath, except this time, David had a hidden, high-tech slingshot.
So how in the world did Porsche think it could conquer a titan like Volkswagen? Well, it all boiled down to a secret strategy, one that was years in the making.
The drive behind this whole thing was this potent mix of factors. First, you had the raw ambition of Porsche's CEO Wendelin Wiedeking. Then you had the incredibly complex, interwoven family history between the Porsches and the Piëchs, who kind of controlled both companies. And finally, there was a really important strategic goal. They needed to secure their parts supply chain, which came from VW. They wanted to control their own destiny.
Now, Porsche didn't just shout their takeover plans from the rooftops. No. Their attack began quietly, almost like a whisper, all the way back in 2005. They started gathering up Volkswagen shares in the shadows, using a very sophisticated financial weapon.
And here it is, the secret weapon: cash-settled options. So, think of it this way. These are financial tools that let you bet on a stock's future price without actually having to buy the stock. Yet. It's complicated, but by using these, Porsche could quietly get control over huge chunks of Volkswagen stock, flying completely under the radar. It was like a ghost hand in the market, building a massive position that nobody could see.
Their strategy was really a masterclass in financial trickery, and it happened in 3 phases. First, they publicly bought a small piece of VW, which looked totally normal. Second, behind the curtain, they used those sneaky options to lock down a much bigger position. And third, well, they just waited for the perfect moment to spring the trap.
And that moment, the moment the trap was sprung, oh man, it created one of the biggest, most insane short squeezes in the history of the stock market.
Okay, so to get what happens next, you have to understand the other side of this bet. The year is 2008. The global financial crisis is in full swing, and car sales are falling off a cliff. So these big hedge funds, they look at Volkswagen and think, easy money. This stock is definitely going down. They shorted it. They bet billions and billions of dollars that VW was about to fail.
And then, on a quiet Sunday, when all the markets were closed, Porsche dropped the bombshell. They put out a press release saying that, hey, by the way, through a mix of shares we own and those secret options, we now control 74.1% of Volkswagen. The market was absolutely floored.
Total panic set in. You see, with Porsche holding 74.1% and the German state of Lower Saxony owning another 20%, the market did the math and suddenly realized, wait a minute, less than 6% of Vivo's shares were actually available to trade. But the short sellers, the ones who bet against Vivo, had promised to sell way more shares than that. They were trapped. They had to buy back shares that basically didn't exist on the open market.
What happened next was just pure chaos. In just 2 days, the stock price went vertical. It exploded from around 200 euros a share to a peak of over 1,000 euros. Why? Because every single short seller was desperately scrambling to buy the tiny handful of shares left, and they were willing to pay any price just to stop the bleeding.
For a brief, insane moment at the height of all this, Volkswagen, a car company, became the most valuable company on the entire planet. We're talking a market cap of $370 billion. It was worth more than the oil giant ExxonMobil. It was a completely irrational moment, driven by nothing but pure panic.
And the financial wreckage for the hedge funds who bet against VW? It was immense. We're talking an estimated 30 billion euros in losses. Just a historic, devastating wipeout. And Porsche had won.
But this is where the story takes that dramatic,
unbelievable turn. Porsche had pulled off a stunning win, a financial masterpiece, but that victory came at a catastrophic price.
So you have to ask, how did they pay for all this? Well, not with their own cash. To fund all those secret purchases, Porsche had borrowed a mountain of money. They were over 10 billion euros in debt.
And here is the fatal twist. Porsche's moment of absolute triumph collided head-on with the worst economic crisis in a generation. Just when they needed to roll over that massive pile of debt, the 2008 financial crisis hit and the credit markets froze solid. Banks just stopped lending money to anyone.
So, with its lenders demanding to be paid back and no new money available anywhere, the hunter, in a shocking reversal of fortune, was about to become the hunted.
All of a sudden, Porsche was completely cash-starved and staring at bankruptcy. Sales of their luxury cars were collapsing because of the recession, and they had billions in debt that they simply could not pay. Their brilliant financial move had left them totally operationally broke.
And this right here is one of the greatest ironies in corporate history. The goal? Porsche buys Volkswagen. The outcome? Volkswagen, which had way more cash, stepped in to rescue its would-be buyer. The company that was supposed to be the target ended up being the owner. You just can't make this stuff up.
So, after all the drama, the lawsuits, this incredible reversal, what's the lesson here? What's the legacy of this epic saga of flying too close to the sun?
Well, the fallout was long and it was messy. Hedge funds sued Porsche for years, claiming market manipulation. German prosecutors even launched investigations into Porsche's top executives. By 2012, Volkswagen officially finished the deal to buy Porsche's car business. But more than anything, this whole saga became a legendary case study in business schools, a powerful real-world warning about how using too much debt can backfire, even when your plan seems to work perfectly.
Ultimately, it leaves us with this huge question that echoes through boardrooms even today. Where do you draw the line between a genius, ambitious move and just plain reckless gambling that puts an entire company at risk? In this incredible story, Porsche flew closer to the sun than anyone ever thought possible, and we all got to see what happens when those wings melt.